So can you just throw on 37-inch tires on a bone stock Ram Power Wagon and hit the road and hit the trails? Well, that's what I did about 4,000 miles ago, and I want to bring you up to speed on how that's been working out. Plus, there are a lot of upgrades that I haven't talked to you guys about, and we're going to cover all that stuff in this video today. A lot of great things to talk about. Stay tuned. Welcome to TrailRecon. I'm Brad, and today I'm out here in the desert doing a little exploring, and I wanted to take a moment and bring you guys up to speed on how things have been going with the Ram Power Wagon, because I've been getting a lot of questions about what I've been up to. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the wheels and tires, but we'll save that for last because that's a big conversation. But there's other things that I've been working on that I want to share with you. So we did some comms installs, so I'll talk about that. There's obviously something on the back of the truck bed now that we need to address. Done a couple other exterior things, and I posted some pictures on Instagram about how I mounted some stuff in the rear of the truck bed, and so I'll kind of dive into detail about what I did and how I mounted it. I think you guys will be pretty interested in that, and then we'll talk about the tires. I am loving this truck. Now look, the Jeep is still going to be my primary adventure vehicle, but like on the long trip I just did to Missouri and back, boy, it was nice driving this thing. A lot of luxury and a lot of comfort and a lot of capability. Okay, let's hop into the interior and let me show you what I did with the comms. Having good communications when you're out on your adventures so you can talk to everybody that's in your convoy or in an emergency situation if needed is very important. And I've been a ham radio user for several years now, and I chose to mount a ham radio in this truck. Now, I don't want to get into a debate in which is the best communications. I personally like ham, but I also think GMRS and CB are very valuable as well, and that's why on the back of this seat on the Molly panel, I have some handheld CB and GMRS radios just in case I need those, in case I'm with somebody that only has those, or maybe we need to talk to some truckers. I think those are important to have, but I didn't want to have, 3 different hard-mounted radios in here. I think having those handhelds and this hard-mounted one is the way to go. Now, this is a Midland radio, and what I like is that this mounted perfectly in this little pocket down here, and I just used the supplied mounting hardware that came with the Midland radio. I used some double-sided adhesive and then a couple screws, and that has been holding up really, really well. No vibration. It's easy to reach when I'm driving. I really like where that's at. And then for the microphone, I chose to use a little magnetic microphone mount, so I'm not fumbling with trying to get that little thing in the pocket of the microphone holder all the time. It just pops on and off with the magnet, and that is really nice. And I was worried that, maybe on a washboard road that might vibrate and come loose. Not at all. It's actually holding really well. It's a really solid design. And this little magnet holder has an adhesive on the back there, and it's sticking really well. I was worried about that. Sometimes when you stick things on plastic, they don't hold, but no problems. I don't think that's going to go anywhere. And that gives you a lot of adjustability on where you want to put it. Again, this is perfect for me. This may be a better setup for somebody else, maybe if you have shorter arms or whatever. Now, with the antenna did take a little bit of thought process and a little bit of trial and error, because the contours of the Ram Power Wagon's hood are not really designed for an antenna mount because there's not a lot of flush areas. And so I ended up mounting it about midway in the hood. That was about the best spot for it. Aesthetically, it's not great, but to get great reception, that's actually a really good spot for it. So we'll see how it goes. For now, it's working for me, but maybe later on we'll see if there's another spot that works. But this was a really easy install, and I'm glad to have the ham radio right here. So if you're thinking about mounting a radio in your truck, whether it's a ham or GMRS or CB, this might be a good location to consider. All right, there's something right down there in front of the door we should talk about. One of the very first things that I noticed when I took this Power Wagon for a test drive was it is a big step getting into this truck. The Power Wagon, I think, comes with a 2-inch taller suspension over the typical Ram trucks. Those 33-inch tires are a little bigger, and so it's a big step getting in there. Well, throw on some 37s and you just amplified it more. I'm a tall guy, I've got long legs. Getting in and out is a struggle for me, and my wife, well, she wasn't having it. So I had to come up with a solution. And so what I did is I spent a Saturday afternoon and I installed the Amp Research Power Steps. These are really nice. The install went pretty easy. There was just a couple little things that I had to fiddle with. My only wish was they only offer these in a single motor. There's some other trucks where they have dual motors. They're a little more durable. They didn't offer it for the Power Wagon. I would have liked that because I know when these things get muddy and sandy and all that kind of stuff, we're going to have to keep a close eye on those motors to keep them clean, keep all the hinges clean. But right now, I'm super happy with these. They're very, very durable, and it has made it so nice getting in and out of the truck. Now, I know that some people are probably going to blast me in the comments. You should have got a rock slider, Brad. You need rock sliders. And I think a rock slider is a great option, but I don't plan on really getting after it with this truck. I mean, look, we're going to get into some obstacles, we're going to have some fun, but my plan is long expeditions and going down some great trails, and if there happens to be an obstacle somewhere, you know what, I've got the capability to get through it. And look, from the ground to that door panel, there's a lot of room there. I would have to really be in some serious stuff for that to get damaged. And plus a rock slider, the rock sliders that are out there, they're pretty heavy. You're talking about 180, 200 pounds of weight that you're going to be adding just to have that rock slider. And the rock slider is not really going to help you get in and out because that thing sits up so high. Where this is about halfway up, so it is a true step. So we'll see. I may be eating my words one of these days when we're out on a trail and somebody will say, Brad, told you should have got a rock slider. But this is going to work for me for now. All right, let's talk about what's on top of the truck bed. So many of you know that on my Gladiator, on the truck bed, I had a big old rack system. And I think rack systems are a great option because you can bolt all kinds of stuff to there, gas cans and storage pods and shovels and axes and your rooftop tent or whatever you want. And I think it's really cool to be able to do that. But there were two things that just bothered me constantly. And one was that if I was driving somewhere and I needed to park, all that stuff was easily accessible. It wasn't very secure. And two, if we were on a long trip by, the first day on a dirt road, everything that is inside the truck bed is filthy. Even if you put stuff in boxes, you're getting through dirty boxes to get to your gear. And so I wasn't in love with it. I think racks are a good option for some people. For me, on this truck, I wanted to go with a shell. And so that's what I did. This is an ARE topper, and I'm really, really happy with this. I was able to option it out the way I wanted, and so I'll just talk through that a little bit. Of course, it's color matched, and I like the contours of it, just how it fits the truck really, really well. I got the side open doors, I don't know what you call these, like a gull wing door, so you can reach down and grab your gear, or my CO2 tank, which is right there, which we'll talk to in a little bit. And on the top, I have a roof rack. And so it's all reinforced inside so I can, if I want, mount a rooftop tent up there. I don't know that I plan on putting a rooftop tent on there. I mean, look how high that is up, guys. I can't even imagine that the ladder for a rooftop tent will fit there. I'd probably have to get some kind of extension. But if I wanted to put a platform up there and mount some storage boxes, or I don't know, take a canoe or some mountain bikes or whatever, I have the option and the ability to do it. Now, what they do with the ARE topper is it's a reinforced structure inside, so you can put quite a bit of weight on there. Now, I didn't know what that meant when I ordered it, and when I got it, I was really, really impressed with the entire structure. It's all heavy-duty T-slot material in there, and now that I've taken a close look at it, I'm like, I could actually mount some stuff inside on the T-slot. I mean, maybe we could do some LED lighting, but if I wanted to mount a shovel or an axe to some of that T-slot stuff, we can get creative. So I'm giving that some more consideration. Now, there are a lot of good shell toppers out on the market there. I looked at the Lear, I looked at the Snug Top, obviously RSR Smart Cap and RLD, those are the stainless steel heavy duty ones. I think they're all good options. For me, it really came down to a little bit of aesthetics. I like how this one looks. This price point on the ARE one was really good, and the options. So I'm happy with it. I really, really like it, and I hope it holds up for the long term. Okay. Let's pull open the truck bed and I'll show you how I have some things mounted in there, and then we'll finally get to talking about these tires. All right, now in the back of the truck bed, which has an interesting echo. And I apologize, I know I've been fighting with the wind and now this echo. It is what it is, guys. We're out here in the desert, and sometimes that's just how it goes. Okay, I've been getting a lot of questions about how I mounted all this stuff back here. Let me talk to you about what I've got going on, and I'll explain how I mounted it. It was super easy. So on the passenger side over here, I have my 3.8 gallon water port. This is a great little water tank. You can pressurize. It's got a spray nozzle. I've had this for years and years, and I really like it. And I used the trailer hitch mounting hardware that came with it and I'll explain a little bit how it was mounted here, just like everything else. But it was super easy to do. It's very sturdy, and if I didn't have the truck bed on there, there's a lock on there, so that's actually nice to have. On the back wall here, there are three 3-gallon Rotopacks, so I've got 9 gallons of fuel back there, and this truck's a thirsty beast, and so having some extra fuel is going to come necessary in some of the future adventures we have planned. But what I really was happy about was I was just kind of playing around trying to figure out how to make those fit back there, and in that position with the nozzle pointed up and to the right, they fit perfectly in that little contour in the back of the truck bed. And that's just using the Rotopacks mounts, and again, I'll explain to you how they're mounted here in a minute, but I'm pretty happy with that. The only thing I have to keep in mind is if I throw stuff in the back of the truck bed, it's got to be secured, because the last thing you want to have is stuff smashing into those plastic Rotopacks. But the good news is I can pull those out pretty quick if I need to. And then over here, I have my 15-gallon CO2 power tank. And I love CO2. I've been using CO2 for years. And the great thing about this one is it's a 15-gallon one. And so I can get about 5 fills on these 37s. So that's good enough for at least a week-long adventure. I still want to figure out a solution for mounting an air compressor. I've got some ideas yet, but I'm still brainstorming. But for now, that's going to be a good solution. And I'll still carry my portable air compressor. So now the question is, how did all this stuff get mounted? Well, I drilled some holes and I installed some nutserts. And if you're not familiar with a nutsert, it's a great solution when you need to mount something to a flush area like this, because a nutsert, using one of these little nutsert tools, gives you basically a flush mounted that you can bolt into. And so basically looks like this. What you have here is this little nutsert. When you use the tool, this squishes around the metal, and then your bolt just screws right in there. And these are all mounted in using nutserts. They're very, very sturdy. Again, 3,400 miles to and from Missouri. We did some washboard roads. We've done quite a bit of off-roading. All this stuff is super stable. And the great thing about all of this is with my DeWalt and a 10 millimeter, I can pull all this off in about 3 minutes, because it's just a few bolts holding each of these on. So if I need to pull everything out of here because I got to use the truck as a truck bed, I got to make a haul to the dump or something, I can pull all this stuff out of there really quick, use the truck bed as I need it, and then on my next adventure, I can reinstall it. So it's a really good solution. Now, yes, it means that I had to drill a bunch of holes in the truck bed, but those holes are easy to plug later on if I need to. I'm pretty happy with this. So nutserts, a great tool. All right, you guys ready to talk about the tires? All right, now the great thing about getting larger tires on your vehicle is you get that axle and that differential pumpkin up higher off the ground, and it gives you a little more clearance. And so going from a 33 to 37, we definitely gained a lot more clearance. But there's some pros and cons with going with a 37. So what I have here is we have an AEV wheel, and AEV says on their website that if you run their wheel with this offset, I think it's a plus 22 offset, that you can fit a 37-inch tire on a stock Power Wagon. That's pretty cool. Now, that does depend on what size 37-inch tire. Now, that sounds odd. Well, what size 37-inch? Aren't they all 37s, Brad? No, some tires are a little bit larger than others. So these are the BFG KO2 All-Terrains, and these are probably one of the smaller 37s that you'll find out there. Now, if you go with something like a Nitto or a Toyo, those are almost a true 37, and so you might get a little more rubbing with something like that. But on this setup so far, first of all, the ride comfort, oh my gosh, it has been amazing. I mean, this truck was really rough on those 33s when I first got it, and I'll tell you, larger tires make for smaller holes and a smoother ride. So both on-road and off-road, it's been more comfortable. But the rubbing, there has been only just a little bit of rubbing on the inside plastic, and I actually can live with it. I might try to modify it a little bit with a heat gun and try to mold some stuff, but there is no rubbing on the control arms, no rubbing on the sway bar, full steering, back and forth. I'm pretty happy with this. Now, we're not done. Because here's the challenge. Even though this truck has some heavy-duty axles, there are still some things that we need to be concerned about because we added a heavier wheel and a much heavier tire. So we've got more weight on here. Going forward, I'm going to have to pay close attention to the unit bearings. So the unit bearings on Ram trucks can fail over time, and so adding some more weight to that could amplify that. So that's something we'll have to pay attention to. We don't want to get into any death wobble. We will have to make sure that we pay attention to the ball joints. Anytime you put larger tires on a vehicle, you're putting more stress on those ball joints, so pay attention to that. And then just the suspension components and the steering components in general. But I will tell you right now, as it sits, I'm really, really happy with how this truck drives and handles with this setup. Now, what about suspension? I mean, do I need to lift it anymore? I don't need to. Will I? I don't know. It's not something I'm in a rush to do. And even the shocks, I thought, well, I need to get, beefier shocks, something with a remote reservoir, something that I can adjust. I haven't found that need. Now, I probably will eventually because, we like to get out in the desert and get after it and kind of haul down there a little bit. And so having a shock with a little more oil in there that I can tune a little bit better will be nice. But for right now, I'm not mad about this setup. I think it's great. And I love that the tires also are tucked up underneath the fender. So we're out in a little bit of mud, and there was just not mud all over my door. That was really nice. Now, there is another thing that we have to address, and that is the spare tire. Right now, I am carrying a tire repair kit, and I have the original 33-inch tire down there because you cannot fit a 37-inch under there. So what am I going to do? I haven't figured that out yet, but I will think about it. But having a tire repair kit will get me out of most situations. And look, worst case scenario, I can limp out on that 33 until I can get a spare tire. I wouldn't want to go on a long trek with that or anything, but if I need to get off the trail and call a tow truck, I can probably do that with that 33. So we'll see what the plan is. If you have a suggestion for a spare tire, I don't know that I want to put it in the truck bed. I don't know that I want to put it on the rack. So maybe a bumper in the rear option. I don't know. I just don't like having that weight back there. But I got to figure out something. We got to run a full-size spare. Okay, what's next? So what's left to do with the Power Wagon? Well, how about we just get out and use it for a while? There'll be some things that we do along the way, like some armor and maybe some suspension upgrades, and definitely got to figure out the spare tire and the air compressor solution. But I'm pretty happy with how it sits right now, and this truck is ready to go and have some great adventures like I'm going to do today. I'm just going to go explore this trail and really just enjoy the day. I hope you have enjoyed hanging out with me. There's a lot more to come with the Ram Power Wagon out on the trail on some great adventures, so make sure that you subscribe and follow along. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.